Jimmy McGill works as a public defender, representing 3 young men who filmed themselves desecrating a corpse for a biology class project. In court, Jimmy delivers an impassioned defense, arguing that his clients, whom he describes as near-honor students, were just feeling their oats and shouldn't have their futures ruined by a momentary, never-to-be-repeated lapse of judgment. He emphasizes that nobody got hurt and questions whether trespassing charges are appropriate since parts of the property were open to the public. The scene then cuts to reveal the actual crime via video footage, the 3 young men drunkenly fooling around with a corpse, making crude jokes, and sawing the head. Their behavior is clearly worse than Jimmy portrayed in court. After the trial, Jimmy argues with the court clerk about payment, insisting he should receive $700 per defendant, $2,100 total, rather than $700 for all 3. Frustrated with the low pay, he declares he won't take any more public defender work. As is leaving the courthouse, Jimmy gets into an argument with the parking attendant over validation stickers. He has 5 but needs 6 for free parking. After reluctantly paying the $3 fee, Jimmy sarcastically congratulates the attendant as Employee of the Month. Jimmy meets with Craig and Betsy Kettleman at a cafe. Craig is the county treasurer suspected of embezzling $1.6 million, though the couple refers to this as an accounting discrepancy. Jimmy tactfully suggests they need legal representation before things escalate, comparing lawyers to health insurance. You hope you never need it, but man oh man, not having it. No. Though they don't immediately hire him, Jimmy gives them his contact information. After they leave, he orders an expensive flower arrangement for them with a note reading, "Dear Betsy and Craig, best wishes from your stickler for justice, James McGill." The florist questions his credit card payment, revealing Jimmy's financial struggles. Later, Jimmy orchestrates what appears to be an accident with 2 skateboarders. When one pretends to be hit by Jimmy's car, Jimmy immediately recognizes their scam, revealing he's a lawyer and criticizing their choice of target. The only way that entire car is worth $500 is if there's a $300 hooker sitting in it. This establishes Jimmy's street smarts and familiarity with cons.at. His office, actually a room in the back of a nail salon. Jimmy checks his empty voicemail before faking a secretary's voice to return Mrs. Kettleman's call. Arranging another meeting, Jimmy visits his brother Chuck, a brilliant attorney who suffers from electromagnetic hypersensitivity. Before entering Chuck's house, Jimmy must leave his cell phone in the mailbox and ground himself by touching a metal pole. Inside, Chuck lives without electricity, using gas lamps and ice-filled coolers instead of refrigerators. Jimmy brings Chuck supplies, including newspapers and international legal journals that Chuck meticulously follows despite his condition. Their conversation reveals that Chuck is a founding partner at prestigious law firm Hamlin McGill, HHM, but hasn't worked in nearly a year due to his condition. Jimmy urges Chuck to cash out his partnership at HHM, estimating Chuck's share at around $17 million. Chuck adamantly refuses, insisting he'll recover and return to work. Chuck reveals that Howard Hamlin has been providing him with a weekly stipend of $857, which bothers Jimmy greatly. When Jimmy suggests Hamlin is taking advantage of Chuck, Chuck defends Howard. The tension escalates when Chuck mentions that Howard is concerned about Jimmy using the name McGill in his law practice, suggesting it might confuse potential clients with HHM. Chuck asks Jimmy to consider a different name like Vanguard Law or Gibraltar, framing it as professional courtesy rather than taking sides. Jimmy is hurt, asking Chuck, "Whose side are you on?" to which Chuck responds, "There are no sides." This reveals the complex dynamics between the brothers and Jimmy's resentment toward HHM. Jimmy tracks down the 2 skateboarders he encountered earlier and pitches them a new scam. He tells them about his past in Cicero, Illinois, where he was known as Slippin' Jimmy. During winter, he'd find patches of ice, deliberately slip, and fake injuries for insurance claims, making $6,000 to $8,000 per fall. Jimmy offers the skateboarders $2,000 for a job targeting Betsy Kettleman. He explains that Betsy drives a medium sandalwood brown 1988 Mercury Sable wagon and picks up her kids from school between 2:25 and 2:50 p.m. The plan: one of them will fake being hit by her car, creating a scene with witnesses for pressure. When she gets out, they'll scare the bejesus out of her and call for an ambulance, which is actually a call to Jimmy. Jimmy would then arrive pretending to be passing by, act as Betsy's white knight, and engage in a staged argument with the skateboarders. The skateboarders would eventually back down, making Jimmy look good to Betsy, hopefully securing her as a client. Jimmy emphasizes that they should not know each other when Betsy is present, and they'll get paid after Jimmy gets paid. Jimmy positions himself near the school, waiting for the plan to unfold. He rehearses his accidental meeting with Betsy, practicing lines about the embezzlement case. However, after waiting past the expected time, Jimmy gets a call from the skateboarders revealing that Betsy hit and ran. The skateboarders tell Jimmy they are following Betsy's car, which has left the school area and turned onto Juan Tabo heading toward Holiday Park. Jimmy, realizing the situation has escalated to a hit and run, a felony, tells them this is actually good news. You fell into the honeypot, kid, as it means they can demand more money. Jimmy instructs them to wait for him once Betsy stops, but they are impatient and dismiss his guidance, saying you haven't been right even once. Slip in, Jimmy my ass. The call disconnects abruptly. Jimmy rushes to Holiday Park, searching frantically. When he finally locates the skateboarders, he discovers they've followed the wrong car, not Betsy Kettleman's vehicle but a similar one driven by an elderly Hispanic woman. He watches in horror as they confront the woman, accusing her of hit and run and demanding money. Make with the dinero. The woman eventually pays them, and they begin to follow her into her house. Jimmy runs toward them, shouting about being an officer of the court, but arrives too late as they enter the house. The scene ends with Jimmy knocking desperately at the door, suggesting they've unwittingly entangled themselves with dangerous people. The tense cliffhanger implies that their scheme has led them into unexpected and potentially perilous territory.